French immersion here in this division. And it's important that every child, every family who wants to participate in French immersion gets that chance, and the obstacles aren't in the way. But it's also, there we go. I agree with that fellow. Smart guys. But just to summarize, if I may, that there's issues dealing with children with extra needs or additional needs, children who are seen to struggle with various aspects, especially reading, and as well as newcomers and multilingual learners. It's seen that immersion is not always the top option, and that there's obstacles to those folks getting into immersion. But again, those are all, the article points out, myth-based, and that the a rich education for someone with any children with those challenges can still be achieved through the French immersion system just as strongly as through the English system. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Nordheim online, assuming there are no technology challenges related to the sound. If we
I think lots of times there are people who wish there were technology to mute my sound, but I will continue. I want to speak to strategic action 2.3 in the mastery section. I'm particularly interested in the fact that we have been kind of leading the way, I think, particularly with the work that Ron Cadez has been doing on universal early screening and proactive approaches to instruction for literacy and numeracy. I think there's been a tremendous amount of work done in Louis Riel, and the fact that we're focusing on this along with the rest of the province now kind of leads me to expectations about where this can be expanded in our next strategic plan in terms of how are we supporting teachers in their assessment of where kids' learning is, regardless of grade level, and how that feeds their instruction. And this early literacy and numeracy work really emphasizes the different approaches that are necessary for literacy in particular, and that there isn't one size fits all. And I just really appreciate the way that this has been emphasized in Louis Riel for a good number of years. And I think we're a little bit ahead of the game because of that. So I thank the group, and particularly Ron's leadership in that area.
Thank you very much. Trustee Palmquist.
Yes, actually just paged off where I was, but wanted to draw attention to the section on AI literacy in the independence section. Just really wanted to applaud some of the work, and not just the work taking place in this both detailed in the report, but the mentality and the philosophy that's been taken with this. It may seem at first challenging to try to introduce students to a technology or to a trend that whose future and implications are so poorly understood, and that it is so new, and it's a little more understood by the people teaching it than it is by the people learning it. And there is a challenge always trying to anticipate future trends. I mean, I remember being a student at Dr. Penner in Minnetonka School at a time when typing speed was believed to be the critical skill that was going to make or break you in the workforce in the future. And I remember practicing my typing, and although it didn't pan out in that way, I think that the mentality of trying to introduce young people at the time and then now today to the general concepts of what they should be thinking about what the future might look like. They should be thinking about how things might land and whether or not the people in charge get it exactly right at the time is less important than that the people who are engaging with these lessons learn about how to be flexible and adapt and learn about what is and learn about the world that they're going to inherit and come into, a world where they themselves one day will be these decision makers trying to adapt to unknown and rapid change. And that spirit of inquisitiveness and adaptability is almost the most important lesson to learn from this period of rapid technological change, which we are in now, and to one extent or another, we have been in as a society for decades. And all signs point to that will be the world that the youth of today will inherit as well, for better or worse. And I'm very encouraged by the mentality and the approach that's being taken with the AI instruction.
Thank you. Within this quadrant, I would point to the night market that was organized by students at Collège Jean Sauvé. It really is about, well, there's a great sentence in here, and it says the night market was about honoring Black excellence, not just in history, but in the present. And the bigger part to it too was students working to build community, to nurture community, to bring students and community together. And the event was far exceeded their expectations. And I suspect it's something that we're going to see happening again. And it was truly an opportunity that students made for themselves to create something that they felt was needed and was missing in terms of a celebration and an opportunity to lean in and learn and have conversations. So props to these students, and it doesn't surprise me at all that something like this scale came together the way it did, because this is very much what we're seeing in some of our senior students in the division, and I know there's more to come. Turning to generosity, Trustee Kolachuk.
Generosity. So Trustee Siminola picked one already. Sent me his thing, so I only had two to choose from. So I'm focused on the educators, the early childhood learning PD that was done in relation to the connection with the land. On that PD day, and this is focused on the generosity multi-year strategic plan, specifically 4.5 UN goals and Indigenous rights. And I think that it was great to see this highlighted within the ARC, because it shows our commitment to Indigenous learning, but also land learning, which is really important for kids to understand the importance of the land and the environment that they're in, and to learn respect for it as well. Because we live in a city where many children don't have access to see where how the land nurtures us when it comes to food and even a way of life, air and all those things, and how everything comes together. So I think it's really good to see that we're focusing on early childhood educators, which include family centers and LRSD, to give them the tools to be able to use this in their classrooms, and also in places like the family center, where they have young kids that are very influenced at that age, or influenced at that age. So that's the one that I chose.
Great, thank you. Trustee Semenyola?
I think for me, when I had picked to talk about Food Day Kindergarten, I think the first part goes with just this group between the senior leadership team and the trustees, and just a couple budgets ago, the decision that we took a board step to have this program in our division. So to see 1 year and hearing families giving a gold star and seeing, and then just seeing how this has changed life for parents and for students and their early development and being accustomed to a school they'll be going to. I think it's great for education, it's great for our community, and it's, you know, the survey kind of says it all. And I feel like the work here is not done either when you go about teachers feeling inspired but also tired, and I think we hear that loud and clear. And we just want to continue to improve this for our community, and hope it's going to be around for a long time to come.
Thank you. Thanks, folks. So I'm just going to open it up to our assistant acting superintendent and the rest of the senior team that's here. If there's anything that you wanted to point to, I know I put you on the spot, but I will turn it to you.
I think, no, thank you for taking the time to review the contents of the ARC and for sharing your thoughts and the highlights that you found within it. I want to emphasize that this is very much a collective effort, and there's much for us as a division to be proud of in that book. That is just a snippet of the work that's going on, but to know that every one of those stories involves a multitude of people, a team of people dedicated to making these outcomes a reality. And this division has a very strong culture of collaboration within it that allows these amazing things to occur. And we want to thank the board certainly for the support for us in pursuing these initiatives so that we can provide a quality education to all of our students. So thank you for your support, and know that this is just a snippet of the amazing things that are going on in the division at the moment.
Does anybody else want to offer thoughts?
I would just like to make mention to the community programming at Renee DeLorme Center, and now, you know, moving as we're expanding into the northern part of the division, and the work rooted in relationships, equity, and Indigenous pedagogy, and seeing reciprocal, respectful relationships with families, and the opportunity to see families, caregivers contribute to the school, and that's the reciprocity. We currently have 4 parents who were part of the program and then became part of the parent mentorship program. And in a relationship with CETA, they are participating in a full year paid course. Exact word. Community development certificate, and that certificate we would acknowledge as prereqs for EAs or community liaison worker positions. So we're really proud of that, and you know, focusing on community, you know, we really believe that supporting students means that we're supporting community as well. Excited about the work.
Else? No? Okay. Oh,
Well,
go
the
ahead.
thing I will say is I think it's interesting, Trustee Walker, how you started by talking about Dr. Wilson and how it really laid the foundation for our work last year, and thinking about the land as our teacher. And if we are caring for the land takes care of us. And then, you know, Trustee Polkstuck, you ended with the learning from the land. And I think it just is a really interesting way to a full circle moment where the stage was set. Teachers, principals, EAs, everybody really took that to heart. And we continued that throughout the year. So I'm excited about this year too, thinking about Nagat Sinclair's challenge to us and what this year will look like.
Thank you very much. Okay, just to close this one off, you know, we took a good look at the pages in the middle, but the few pages at the beginning really sort of provide a nice snapshot of who we are. The LRSD by the numbers talks about who we are as a divisional community. There's a page that is related to our budget and talks about all the local investments we've made in the past year. And it also shouts out our staff and students. But it is the very last page that I'd like to, or second last page, I guess it is, that I'd really like to leave us with, because it honors the memory of 2 remarkable women who have made a lasting impact on Louis Riel. And that is former educator and trustee Darlene Garrier, and also Elder Hilda Cantaban. And these 2 women collectively and individually impacted many lives. They touched many lives, and they are certainly part of the legacy that is Louis Riel School Division. So I thank you all for sharing your thoughts and your insights. And that is the ARC for 24-25. Those of you that are joining us online can find the full version if you want to take a look at it on our website. So that takes us to item number 5. we have received a request from Councillor Vivian Santos looking for some support for sorry, figures that I'm sure I don't. For endorsing a motion that she's bringing forward regarding 30-kilometer speed zones in all throughout the division year round. And she wants to, as I said, she's reached out for to see if we will support that by way of a letter. And so I'm looking for direction from the board on how we may or may not want to engage with that. I saw Trustee Palmquist and Trustee Walker.
My initial feelings is that I want to thank Counselor for that request. I think that I've spoken in favor and will continue to of the engagement between our division, this board, and the city of Winnipeg, both individual counselors and as an institution as a whole. My current view is I am not right now supportive of bringing 30K school zones into 24-hour 365 because as in my opinion, as school zones are currently constituted, they are a flawed design. They have been created in such a way as there are a handful of zones around the city that are generating massive numbers of fines and infractions at them, where it's evident that the design of the road and the design of a given school zone is not reflective of the posted speed limit. And my concern is that extending these to 24 hours 375 would only exacerbate these issues. However, I also believe that the solutions to that problem are clear and are available. And they involve relatively straightforward modifications, which municipal, provincial, and even divisions can participate in actively. Now, in the event that those modifications were made, I would 100% support this. And I'll defer to my colleagues and see what they have to say, but what I would like to see would be our board not write this letter as requested, however, engage with Councillor Santos for further discussions of how we can partner and work together to improve school zone safety in more specific and constructive ways, and in ways that in my personal opinion, as someone who's been very active in this file for many years, not as active as my colleague Trustee Walker, but pretty active, that is more likely to be successful.
Thank you very much. Trustee Walker.
I agree with what Ryan had to say. Although I don't think it would be a bad thing to continue to make those incremental changes. My wife received a ticket on Talbot. When was it? 2 years ago. She was coming back from visiting me at Hampstead on her way back to St. Boniface, and that street is engineered for 50 kilometers. And the city parks a automated enforcement vehicle in that zone every single day and collects revenue from it, which goes into the general police budget and isn't used to fix that road. And our position at Safe Speeds Winnipeg, if I put on my Chair of Safe Speeds Winnipeg hat, has been that the money collected from automated enforcement should be put back into re-engineering the road. So if we were to write a letter of support, I would encourage my colleagues here to support that we're encouraging our partners at the City of Winnipeg and at the province, because the province is going to have to get involved through the Highway Traffic Act to move towards using revenue from automated enforcement to traffic calming those areas. Don't want the public to think that the city's just reducing speed to collect revenue, because that's certainly not been my intent or any of the intent of the people in my group. And I'll add that I went out and spoke with 600 people over the course of January through March in St. Boniface, and roughly 90% of the people that I talked to in the St. Boniface and the Norwood East and Norwood West area wanted to see reduced speeds on all residential streets, we collected a petition. I have a very long list of people's names and email addresses and phone numbers that want to see cars slowing down within our neighborhood. But definitely think that the public's on board to move in that direction, and we're writing a letter. We need to kind of encapsulate all of those things, including the fact that automated enforcement's not the be all end all.
Thank you. Trustee Semenyola?
I believe safety is important for our community, and I think we should be mindful of speed in school areas. I think the one that we have right now that focuses on when there's the highest pedestrian and automobile traffic during those hours. I think that's good. I'm in support of us having conversation on how can we have an input on what they're trying to achieve. But 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round, I'm not in support of.
Thank you. Trustee Kolachek or trustee Sigurdson, trustee Nordheim online?
I would agree with the sentiments of my colleagues. I'm not in favor of having a 24/7, 365 speed zone there. And like trustee Palmquist mentioned, there's lots of things that need to be changed within school zones within the city, and there's many schools that don't even have a school zone. So I think that there's other work that needs to be done other than focusing on 24/7, 365 and increasing tickets.
Thank you. Trustee Sigurdson, did you want to weigh in?
No, thank you.
Okay, trustee Nordheim?
No, thank you.
So we'll draft a letter. I will circulate it to everyone just to ensure that it captures the conversation. And we will get it to Councillor Santos by the deadline that she had requested. Thank you, everyone. Good conversation. I appreciate the your thoughts. That takes us to information from the senior leadership team. We have 4 items, and turn to assistant superintendent or acting superintendent to set us up for this.
Thank you. I had the privilege last week of presenting to a standing committee at the legislature with Bill 225, which is a bill that mandates universal screening for students in kindergarten and grade 3. And it came out in June, I believe it was. It was passed with unanimous consent from the legislature so that it was able to go into committee phase. And so I was the only representative there from the school system advocating for this bill, but it certainly was a privilege for me to be there to talk to it. The bill basically has 3 major components, and I spoke to all 3 of them and offered some suggestions for improvement. As you can see in the remarks that I had provided, one of them was that it talked about the minister providing a list of tools. This is already going on in Ontario, where the minister sort of stated what some of the tools are that schools should be using. It was brought in the context that some divisions, in spite of best intentions of trying to get early screening off the ground in their divisions, are investing money in tools that are not informative or are not appropriate for the context of universal screening. And so some guidance from the province was asked. I suggested they caveat that by adding the word evidence-based tools. That has a very specific meaning. It's kind of how we've used the tools in our context. It also required that schools report to families within 30 days what the results of the testing are. I am completely in favor of us being very transparent and sharing those results, but there are some logistical concerns there. And again, I point to Ontario, where they've included that as part of the report card, being that's a provincial document. I believe there's some support from the province that needs to be considered before we can look at doing that in a universal fashion mandated by law within 30 days. If we were asked in our 5th year of our journey to report those results within 30 days, we would have a challenge on our hands to do that. So I wanted to point that out to the commission, to the standing committee. And the final one was that it mandates school divisions to provide resources for support for students who are flagged as at risk. And my recommendation there is that we have a collective responsibility, and if there are resources that are required, there has to be some commitment from all of the stakeholders, not just the division, because ultimately, if we are obliged to provide resources through a legal mandate, that means we have to withdraw resources from other areas of need. So a stronger commitment for provincial funding, as exists in other jurisdictions in Canada, that I think we can look to for examples that would be more successful. It was a very engaged group of people that presented. I understand the committee was there till close to midnight that night. The room was filled with people wearing red. I was the exception. I did not wear red to the occasion. as a market red month. But sharing very passionate stories about their own personal experiences, their children's experiences, and their professional experiences. And I believe we got a very broad spectrum of input from those participants that was really well informed. Ultimately to land at the end where the committees saw valid points being raised, but not totally sold on the idea of a law being needed for it. So we'll see where this ends up in its next phase. But again, thank you for allowing me to go there to represent the division. It certainly was a great opportunity for me to share a little bit about what we do here and why we do it.
Thank you very much for doing that. Questions? Trustee Walker?
It's more of a comment. I saw Ron present, when I was, through some of my Instagram feeds. And I just wanted to thank you for your leadership on this matter. It's just so important that we're serving all of the kids in our province, and the work that you've done is going to have a real impact. So thank you so much. I'm proud to be part of an organization that's leading.
Thank you. Trustee Conquest?
Just wanted to echo that. I read the full transcript, watched the video on silent, while reading it, at a meeting. I just wanted to say great remarks, and in particular jumped out at me your challenge, from provincial government to, put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, and recognize that, ratepayers putting forward, new provincially directed objectives, when of course laudable and needed, nonetheless requires like a subsequent financial commitment to really realize that possibility without harming, as you said, some other equally important priority. So well said, and agree completely, and thank you for your work. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, item 6.2, through the acting superintendent to Director Kelly.
We want to share today a little bit about the work of the school and classroom support team. So to start with that, just to make sure everybody in the room knows, we use the term school and classroom support team, who we're talking about. So senior leadership team, clinical services, so all of our psychologists, social work, speech paths, OTs, physiotherapists, rehab assistants, and child and youth care workers, combined with the instructional support teachers, the Indigenous education team, teachers as well as the language instructors, a manager of community programs, school and family community connector, and community liaison worker of Indigenous academic support. So in total, we're about 160 people. We work itinerantly across the 41 schools, but once a month, we do have the option to get together and to meet at the board office for a full day of learning in the morning. Very fortunate to be able to connect with this group, because this year we're putting together 14 different action groups that are going to focus on year 3 of a 4-year multi-year strategic plan. So the action groups are based on addressing the 25 strategic actions. And everyone that makes up the school and classroom support team had some choice in which groups they wanted to put their time and energy into. Our job as a small group that plans those days is to make sure that we get out of the way of the work getting done. So we've got, as you can see up on the screen, you've got lots of choice to pick from. And what I love about now that the groups are made and we finalize them is just seeing the cross section of the people in the room. I'm going to highlight just a couple of the groups to give you an example of what we'll start on Tuesday. I'm going to use the first one, decolonizing our practices, reimagining school through Indigenous perspectives. So coming off of a powerful day on October 1st with Kevin Cheap and Agon Sinclair, this work's going to be facilitated by our Divisional Vice Principal of Indigenous Ed, Kelsey Lanahan, as well as Trish Wilson, who's a teacher on the Indigenous Ed team, and Kim Mackey's a social worker. This group's going to take a look at, when we refer to the system, us, like the work that we do in Louis-Riel and the barriers that sometimes we put up within our own system, and how to decolonize it from that beginning of school in kindergarten all the way to that 12th grade. The interesting part about these days for a group like this one is that the bulk of our Indigenous Ed team is in the room for the whole morning as well as the rest of the day. So they can draw on our teachers, they can draw on the language instructors, and then mix in some social workers and some psychologists into the mix, and you've got a very interesting group to work with. Another group that has filled up with people is the Land-Based Education and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples group. So I know a lot of you in the room are familiar with what happened last year on May 22nd at the Forks with the Learning with the Land. This action group is really a chance to give Sean Oliver and Rose Bird and Jordana Milne opportunity every month to work with other members in the school and classroom support team to continue to support that important work of sustainability, of land-based education and UNDRIP. And then the last group that I want to highlight tonight is just a combination of 10 professionals that have made up this group that consists of teachers, social workers, child and youth care workers, and psychologists. And they're focusing on home and school connections. So they're going to have some time each month that they can dedicate to really working on that genuine connection between school and the school division and families. So everything from addressing attendance and looking at proactive ways to solve the dilemma of poor attendance and the impact that it has, to also the strengthening the relationships with families, with the individual school that their kids attend, but also with the school division. So to sum it up, in the home and school group, we've got a group of school classroom support team members that are going to look at improving the relationship between equity seeking groups that have been historically mistreated within the public education system and develop some strategies for us to simply do better and be better as partners. I want to take a quick second to thank Clark Hagan and the IS team that come up with these incredible tools where we can survey large groups of people and pull these groups together and link up their strengths that we'll use throughout the year. And then the last part, I haven't highlighted the other 11 action groups that are gonna be up and running, but my hope is that over the next 8.5 months, we may have a chance to circle back to this with the board and share some other examples of the work once it's up and running.
Thank you.
And they start on Tuesday.
Well, there's lots of work to be done. Questions from the group? Okay, seeing none, we look forward to hearing more and wish you well with your ambitious agenda. Thank you. Welcoming Divisional Principal Nicole Major for item 6.3 team retreat.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. I'm here to talk a little bit about our retreat, title being Climbing the Mountain. On October 15th and 16th, school and division leaders gathered at the Leaf for our annual leadership retreat. It was guided by the theme Climbing the Mountain. The retreat opened with a land acknowledgement and a call to action inspired by Justice Murray St. Clair's words. We have described for you a mountain. We have shown you the path to the top, and we now call upon you to do the climbing. This message kind of set the tone for the 2 days. It focused on reconciliation, belonging, transformative leadership. A central highlight was the LRSD student panel, featuring students from 6 of our schools across the division, including elementary and high school. These students shared candid reflections on their experiences, their hopes, and their challenges. Their voices reminded us of the importance of listening to those that we're serving and to ensure that every learner feels seen, heard, and valued. Leaders engaged in table discussions to reflect on the panel's insights, considering how student perspectives can shape our work moving forward. And throughout the retreat, participants worked in school teams to analyze data, to identify the achievement and engagement gaps, and to develop project-based learning plans and outcomes for themselves. This year, we also leveraged AI. So again, a shout out to Clark. He actually made an agent for us called Spark. And with that agent, we were able to guide our project work. Spark helped teams to create driving questions, clarifying learning outcomes, and highlighting next steps to take, ensuring that our planning was both data informed and forward thinking. We had keynotes from Dr. Negan Sinclair and community leader Mitch Burbanier, who challenged us to really center Indigenous knowledge, foster inclusive culture, and lead with empathy and purpose. The retreat concluded with a renewed commitment to climb the mountain together, guided by student voice, data, and a shared vision to flourish school community.
Thank you. Any questions from trustees? Trustee Palmquist.
Thanks for the report. Just want to say I had no idea that Mitch Bourbonnais used to work for the division. That's great. He's such an interesting and great guy. I just had saw him just a few days ago at the Sacred Fire ceremony in front of the Winnipeg Police Headquarters the other day, and such a huge presence, saying hi to everyone, hugging everyone, and then getting on his motorcycle and riding off, and the entire event pausing as the incredible sound echoed through all of downtown as he went down the street. Just, it's wonderful to know that he was working with us in the past, and thank you for that.
We couldn't have timed it better. Nigan was still up
Yeah.
finishing his keynote and Mitch walked in and he like stopped everything like, "You're here, Mitch? Like, I love this guy." Like, it was perfect. Nice moment for him.
Yeah. Anything else on this one? All right, then also welcoming Divisional Principal Megan Van Conant on therapeutic crisis intervention, excuse me.
Thank you and good evening. Continue to work on supporting our students and staff and families, caregivers, and a journey that we've been on is to enhance our work when supporting students and staff using a trauma-informed lens. And so as such, we are engaged in therapeutic crisis intervention for schools as our universal approach. So what that looks like is the beginnings of last year, a number of people trained in school, a commitment to having our staff have exposure and training in a number of ways throughout this year. So we have committed to 3 days of training that will take place on professional development days for our educational assistants, those support staff, student services teachers, and then school administrators were also trained in June, and they will provide opportunities for other colleagues in the division, including our teachers and our custodial staff, our clerical, to have the facilitation around this therapeutic crisis intervention for schools approach. So it is a preventative approach. It focuses on pain-based behavior. We're hoping that with this approach, we will all come to have some common language around supporting students. There is also a follow-up when a student is ready or a child is ready to have those conversations. There is a follow-up component that provides a learning opportunity as well. So that is what we are engaging in. Our first set of trainings will be on November 10th and will take place in all of our schools throughout the year.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Lisa Mignola.
Oh, thank you for that. Is there any connection to some of the crisis intervention that happen in school that sometimes connected to the environment of where they're coming from? Is that part of that? Is there an engagement that acknowledges that piece that is gonna be included in here, or is this more student and school forecast?
It's certainly school and student focused. However, anytime we're engaging a student who is having some unexpected big feelings and emotions, we're always engaging with our caregivers as well to ensure that we have that holistic approach with that child at the center with all those important, meaningful people in their lives.
Okay, perfect. No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, that takes us to correspondence. We have correspondence from the correspondence that we've received. We have correspondence also from Manitoba School Boards Association, documentation of correspondence that has been sent out. Was there anything anybody wanted to draw specific attention to or ask questions on? Okay, then we will receive all of that and archive accordingly. We have no action items this evening, so that takes us to public question period. Looking to in the room, Mr. McGurn, any questions or commentary for us this evening?
All good.
Okay, thank you. Hope you're keeping well. And any questions coming from anybody online at this point? Not seeing anything? All right, then we are at the end of our agenda and adjourned for the evening. I wish everybody a good night.